This is verse 23 of the book of Jude. Jude is giving final instructions, exhortations to the people who are the recipients of this letter. Essentially, the point of it is that there are those who have been affected by false teachers who've come in and are making a certain degree of chaos in the fellowship. And it seems Jude here is advising as to how various people should be handled, depending on how much they've been influenced by these false teachers. There is a considerable amount of disagreement among commentators here, and in fact the original text appears to have been corrupted somewhat, so it's a little tough to fathom exactly what Jude has in mind. The main dispute is whether Jude is referring to three different kinds of people or two different kinds of people, and I'm going to take the view that there are three, but I'm doing that rather guardedly, understanding that some good people would take an alternative view. But it does seem, at least in terms of the text we have before us, that that would be the most reasonable approach. So we have in verse 22, the preceding verse, Jude refers to using the relative pronoun, the same one we have here, in fact, whose. It would be them, ordinarily, relative pronoun, or those who. We might even render it in connection with the context, some. And so Jude has said to us, on some show mercy, especially those who are doubting. This does seem to be those who are possibly in the least peril. If we take this particular view, they are in peril. They're doubting, they're being influenced somewhat by these false teachers, but nevertheless they haven't really gone down that path too far. And so at this point, show mercy to them in an attempt to draw them back. So the second relative pronoun, you'll notice there's another one here, so we're going to have three altogether, which is where I get the idea that there's three different kinds of people that are being contemplated. So here's the second one, some, or those who, relative pronoun again, de. Going along with a men in the preceding verse would be on the other hand, so we have men on the one hand, de on the other, and then sodzete. This is the second person plural. It's the present active imperative once again. So these now save. Ek preposition takes the genitive, so puros, which is the word for fire, like a pyrrhic idea, or pyromaniac, something like that, out of fire, and then harpadzontes. This is from harpadzo. It seems to be distantly related to the verb airo, which means to take up or to take away. A little bit more of a forceful view of it. Harpadzo would be to grab something, even to pull it. That's the notion here. It's a participle. You'll notice it's in the nominative because it's accompanying the subject of the sentence, which is actually you. Second person plural. It's a command, so you do this. And the instruction is to pull them, so you save them, pulling. Present participle, ek purus, out of the fire. So that does seem to contemplate people who are really in great peril. They have possibly been influenced by these false teachers, and thus need a somewhat more aggressive kind of salvation mission, you might say. And then we have the third of these. So we have, again, hus de, so on the one hand, on the other, and on the other hand yet, you might say, extending a third. And then eleata, same as we had in the preceding verse, mercy them, literally, or show mercy to them, in phobu, in fear, referring to the person himself or herself who is doing this rescue mission. So rescue them in fear, and this fear gives rise to hating. Misao means to hate. This is misuntes, which is again a present active participle, masculine singular nominative, again going along with the subject of the sentence. So you mercy them in fear, hating. The direct object is way down here at the end, ketona, which means a garment. And so it's keton is it's a masculine noun actually, and so it's hating the garment, singular. What kind of garment? Well, we have espilomenon,
This is from spiloo, which means to sully something, to defile it, to put spots on it, to make it dirty, would be the fundamental idea. So these are a garment that has been spotted, that has been made defiled in some way. How is it defiled? Well, it's the from to tone, rather, the article here, apotes sarkos, the from the flesh spotted garment. So it's been spotted by virtue of some kind of defilement that took place flowing from the flesh. So the chi here, normally a connective, probably means even in this sense, and so we have the idea then, some show mercy in fear. You have the fear, hating, guarding yourself against this spotted garment, a garment that has been spotted even from the flesh. And so once again, we have a kind of gradation of seriousness of peril, in which we have the notion of some who need to be shown mercy because they're in doubt, some who need to be forcibly saved from the fire, and yet some yet maybe even more deeply defiled, whose garments have been spotted, as it were, using the term presumably metaphorically, and they are going to require even the most aggressive display of all, although again he uses the word to show mercy on them, which is a little bit less aggressive than the word pulling, which we had in the previous verse. So all in all, it seems to be covering the waterfront of people who may be affected by these false teachers, giving a variety of somewhat metaphorical pieces of advice as to how such people should be handled within the community of faith.